Well, welcome to this celebration of the 12th day of Christmas, and I hope you're enjoying your partridge in a pear tree, your 2 turtle doves, your 3 French hens, 4 calling birds, and of course your 5 golden rings with diamonds. And this, of course, is also Epiphany Sunday. It's the day we celebrate the arrival of the 3 magi, offering their gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh before the new king. You may have heard the story about the 3 6-year-old boys who were playing the wise men in their church Christmas program. As they came up to Mary and Joseph and the baby in the stable and the house there, the first one handed over his present and said, "Gold." The second one came up and presented his gift and said, "Myrrh." The third came up and offered his treasure and said, "And Frank sent this." Makes sense to me, right? And Frank sent this. I mean, what do kids know about frankincense and myrrh and all that stuff? Of course, as someone has noted, if it had been the 3 wise women who came seeking the newborn king instead of the 3 wise men, they would have asked directions, arrived on time, helped deliver the baby, cleaned the stable, made a casserole, and brought practical gifts, for crying out loud. One more interesting tidbit. Back in 1984, a French perfume creator figured out how to combine all three of the Magi's gifts into a new fragrance. For $525, he would sell you a 24-karat gold-plated flask containing 1/3 of an ounce of amoureuse. The perfume was a blend of frankincense and myrrh. I'm sure there are some people out there who would just have to have this expensive concoction. But I wonder, what kind of men were the Magi, these 3 Magi? What kind of men were they? In the folklore of our faith, they're actually given names: Casper, Melchior, and Balthazar. And in some portrayals of these men, they had distinctive racial features. Melchior was European, Balthazar African, and Casper was Asian. They represented people from all over the world coming to seek their newborn King Jesus. Now, they have been characterized as kings. Obviously, they were not lowly peasants. Herod and all of Jerusalem would not have been frightened if the 3 peasants came seeking the newborn king. Matthew writes, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem and asked, "Where is the one who is born King of the Jews?" They saw his star in the east. We saw his star in the east and had come to worship him. When Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all of Jerusalem with him. Now, I doubt if 3 nobodies would have had such an impact on Herod. They've also been called wise men, of course, and certainly they were students of the stars, astrologers, perhaps. They had seen a star unlike any other star, and they had to follow it until it came to rest over the house where the child lay. Now, we know from astrological history that at this particular time there is an incredible conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in the skies, which would have created what would look like an incredibly bright star, one like nobody had ever seen before. And that's what they assumed the wise men followed. But it's a stirring drama. It's a stirring drama. Magi, kings, wise men, European, African, Asian. We really don't know, however, much about these men. We don't know much about them. But I think we can conclude 3 things. 3 things. First of all, they were men of action. They were men of action. They saw their star, and they followed it. These are people in every generation who contribute to humanity's advancement, people who see stars and follow them. Benjamin Disraeli once said, "The secret of success in life is for a person to be ready for opportunity whenever it comes." H. Jackson Brown put it this way, "Opportunity dances with those who are already on the dance floor." These 3 men saw their star, they mounted their camel, and they hit the road. They were men of action. In 1982, a woman named Celeste Tate was shocked by how much good food grocery stores threw away. She persuaded a store manager to donate his expired items to help the hungry. She and David McKinley set up shop in a garage. Soon they had built the first Gleaners supermarket for the needy in Las Vegas. The name Gleaners comes from the Old Testament practice of leaving some grain in the field after harvesting so that the poor could gather it. Well, today, the Las Vegas store serves about 20,000 people a month. There are now 194 stores based on the Gleaners model in the United States, Great Britain, Australia, Holland, and China. Now, these not-for-profit stores receive food and other perishable goods from supermarkets and big businesses. They repackage them and either give them away to the needy or sell them at dramatically reduced prices for those whose budgets are limited. The Department of Health and Human Services has called Gleaners the most outstanding food program in the United States. And it all began because one woman was shocked at the waste in our grocery stores. Great things happen in this world when someone sees a star and follows it. These three magi were obviously men of action. Of course, not every star is worthy of being followed. There are many people who are just by nature impulsive, right? They may jump at any star only to regret it later. So common sense and discernment is important here. Now, some of you here are old enough to recognize the name Carl Perkins. Perkins was a popular rockabilly singer from the 50s and the author of the classic song Blue Suede Shoes, which became one of Elvis's first big hits. As a guitarist, Perkins influenced many of the next generation of rock and roll singers, most prominently George Harrison of the Beatles. Perkins never quite attained the fame of some of his more notorious colleagues. And he once explained it like this: I never envied Elvis, his mansion and all of that. All those boys, Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Roy Orbison, they all lost their wives, they lost their families. And people say, what happened to you, Carl? All of them went on to superstardom. Where'd you go? He said, I went home, because that's a good place to be. Carl Perkins made a choice. He made a choice not to follow the star of fame with the same intensity that some of his contemporaries. He felt that his star was at home. And sometimes that's a wise choice to make as well. But still, if all of us chose to stay at home, the world would come to a grinding halt. The three magi were people of action. And they were men of determination. They were men of determination. Theirs might have seemed to be kind of a foolish endeavor, a foolish adventure at times, following this star they had seen in the east. But they persevered until the star they followed came to rest over the house, and they knew their journey was complete. I love it when people follow through on a noble task and it's completed, whether the task is building a business or a home or a ministry or whatever star they may be following. Mary Kay Ash, who built Mary Kay Cosmetics into a corporate giant, once said this: if we were ever to compare knees, you are going to find that I have more scars than anyone else in this room. And that's because I've fallen down and gotten up so many times in my life. Those are the people who are successful in the world, people who refuse to give up, people who follow their star regardless of the obstacles. Motivational speaker Earl Nightingale once told a story of an American team of mountain climbers who set out to conquer Mount Everest. Before the team left the U.S., a psychiatrist interviewed them. Each was asked individually, privately, will you get to the top of Mount Everest? Simple question. Well, there was a wide assortment of answers. Well, Doc, I'll do my best. Well, I'm sure going to try. Each knew how formidable was the challenge. But one of them, a real slightly built team member, gave a totally different answer. When the psychiatrist asked him the question, he thought for a moment, and then he quietly answered, yes, I will. It's no surprise that he was the first one to reach the summit of Mount Everest. Nightingale comments, yes, I will. Three of the most potent words in our language. Whether spoken quietly, loudly, or silently, those three words have propelled more people to success and have been responsible for more human achievement than all other words in the English language combined. Today is also our Servant Heart Sunday, and we had many of our ministries represented in our fellowship hall today. I hope and I pray that 2018 will be for you a yes, I will year, that you will consider donating some time and some energy to the wonderful ministries we have here at Grace. Please consider that. We need volunteers. We need your involvement. Will you be a yes, I will person this year? I hope so. But the Magi were men of action. They were men of determination. They were yes, I will people. But more than anything else, these three Magi were men of faith. They were men of faith. As they told King Herod, they were following their star that they might worship the one who had been born King of the Jews. The three wise men came with pure hearts. Their purpose was worship and praise. They came not to find gold, but to find God. Their purpose was to offer up gifts to their Savior and King. One of the oldest Christian legends is the charming story concerning the well of the Magi in Bethlehem. The people of Bethlehem made a practice of going to this well during Christmas week. There they would bend over the opening of the well, and they would cover themselves with a blanket or a cloak or something to shut out the light of the day. And then, as they peered down into the dark well, the Star of Bethlehem, according to this pious practice, could be seen moving across the water. But it could be seen only by those who were pure of heart. The Magi would certainly have seen the star just as they did 2,000 years ago. Why? Well, because they were pure of heart, because their priority was worship and praise, because they were men of faith. I wonder if such a star should appear in the heavens tonight, whether you and I might see it. Is our faith real enough? Theologian John Calvin once said, "If the sight of the star had so powerful an effect on the Magi, woe to our insensibility, who now that Christ the King has been revealed to us, are so cold in our inquiries after him." Follow that star. People who make a difference in the world are not content to sit on the sidelines. They set their sights on a worthy star, and they follow it with all their hearts. And of course, the most magnificent star that any of us can follow is the same today as it was in the time of the Magi. It's the star of Christ. Bowing before him in adoration and praise, we offer the gift of ourselves to him. Amen. Thanks for watching. I hope this video can further the discussion of your relationship with Christ, either at home or maybe in the comments below.